Hello there, welcome to my review of the Rockford Files Season 4, Episode 5, The Dog and Pony Show, written by David Chase and directed by Reza Badi. The episode begins at the LA County Courthouse, with Angel and Jim standing trial for Angel's theft of slightly more than the souvenir fork he claims.
That is not a souvenir fork,
which he helpfully stowed away in Jim's car.
I had no idea those things were in the back of my car when we left the racetrack.
The judge gives them both a suspended sentence on the condition that they attend therapy sessions for their kleptomania, which is a bit of a convoluted way to get them into a group therapy session. The group dynamic is quickly established, with the rest of the group liking Jim and thinking Angel is a flake. But the intrigue of the episode really begins when one group member, Mary Jo Flynn, explains that she was followed and later approaches Jim to find out who it was.
You said you're a private detective. Are you available right now?
Jim tactfully declines, as part of the reason she's in therapy is for paranoia, but as the old saying goes, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean someone's not out to get you, and when she gets home, there's someone attempting to rob her. This is enough to get Jim involved, and Mary Jo reveals that all her problems started after a bad breakup.
Last year, I had a love affair with a man. Didn't work out too well.
But it's clear she's holding something back, either factual or psychological.
That's it.
There's a lot of setup in this opening act, and I'm not sure Chase quite nails it, but I have to praise the effort. He could have simplified it immensely by just having Mary Jo come to Jim as a client for him to quickly find out about her mental health issues, but adding this extra layer, he manages to give Jim more insight into her, introduces a whole room full of potential suspects, and wrings some humour out of Angel, being Angel.
If I want to take guff off a bunch of bananas, I'll go down to the produce department at Safeway.
Jim begins his investigation, which quickly leads to a dead end.
Oh, I was not in Westwood last night.
And we return to the group, where Angel is fabricating a sob story about why he is the way he is, which no one is buying.
I resent being lied to.
Hey, that's the last time I talk in here.
We also discover that Mary Jo was indeed hiding something, that she was hospitalised for paranoid schizophrenia, which shocks Jim, and we see a crack in his otherwise usual sympathetic nature.
So that's just another way of saying you just don't work for Flippos.
You put it that way. I probably wouldn't have.
Despite my earlier reservations, this is a brilliant little scene that shows Rockford isn't perfect without making him a bad person. His reasoning for wanting to know about Mary Jo's schizophrenia is entirely practical, as he knows that not having all the details regularly puts him in danger. And yet, in this instance, because he understandably doesn't know enough about mental health, he manages to put his foot in it.
Jim?
If Jim had any doubts about whether she was delusional or not, this is quickly resolved in the next scene when he's followed and cornered by a couple of goons. He escapes in spectacular fashion, and I love the little detail of this stunt wrecking his front wheel, just adding to the realism as well as the humour, as it wobbles like a weeble with a drinking problem. Jim speaks with Mary Jo to reassure her she's not imagining things and has already come a long way in his sensitivity to mental illness.
You're the only person you know who thinks your mental illness is so shameful.
Which is absolutely incredible to see in a show of this era, when even today so many people stigmatise or just fail to understand the subject. To even call it mental illness rather than something more pejorative is huge now, let alone 50 years ago. Jim had spotted that the car was from the mental facility that Mary Jo was at, and the only explanation she can come up with is that she spoke with one of the patients who was marked as violent, finding him to be anything but. and he claimed to be part of a CIA special ops group who was supposed to overthrow the Chilean government and was writing a tell-all book based on this cancelled coup.
Well, he claimed that they took all of his notes and his papers and that they were intending to kill him quietly.
While this might sound like some spy novel hokum, post-Watergate there were a few books written by ex-agents on the subject, the most famous being 1974's The CIA and the Cult of Intelligence, which was taken to court by the US government, causing some of the book to be censored. Combine this with the very real overthrow of the democratically elected government by Pinochet, which the USA didn't actively participate in, but did fully support both before and after, and this would have felt very real to viewers at the time. With some help from Dennis, Jim is told where to find the CIA's local branch, or the NIA as they are referred to in this episode. But they aren't as green as the hoods or feds that Jim usually deals with, and quickly run a trace on his vehicle. Luckily, he borrowed Rocky's truck, which turns up completely clean, but has spooked the spooks, who suspect the Joseph Bloomberg that Jim's looking for could very well be a spy, that even they don't know about the existence of. At something of a dead end, Jim ropes Angel into helping him infiltrate the mental hospital Mary Jo stayed at, and he gets to Bloomberg, played to perfection by Ed Lauter, who could well be on the level, but might also be delusional, especially when Angel recognises him as mob enforcer Joey B.
Jimmy, he's all mobbed up. He's married into the Lorenz family. He's an enforcer!
Unfortunately, Jim's earlier escapade with the company have led them to keeping tabs on him.
What the deuce?
Just as Angel is able to detail Bloomberg's real identity.
Every Friday night, there'd be Joey B with some hoods and hookers getting spots on his shirt.
But this leads to Jim working out that he has nothing to do with the CIA, and that his family had him institutionalized when he became too loose-lipped for an effective assassin, or indeed member of the mob. He was there to keep him quiet, but not by the government. And it's now the mob that are trying to silence Mary Jo. With some legal protection, Jim walks into the lion's den, going to see Joey B's family, telling them to back off, or he'll let the other families know that Joey B is still alive and dangerous. It's a beautifully acted scene that contrasts Rockford's understanding of mental illness with the backward view prevalent amongst a lot of people at the time.
We don't go to Mass every Sunday. We don't donate thousands to the City of Hope.
That mental illness is a punishment from God. With the situation resolved, Jim is free to go until they spot the agents that have been tailing Jim and round everybody up. With the feds now involved, having fouled up Jim's plan, the family plans to clean up the mess, their way, killing everyone and hoping that solves the problem. Luckily, Jim managed to outwit them and the NIA, and after a brief fight is able to get out from under everything.
You got a lot of explaining to do.
I'm licensed to work in this country. You guys are supposed to be tending the Berlin Wall.
With Jim telling his story to his group, Angel can't help but be Angel, and has to invent a story about his gun-running days, not realising that the agency is always listening. While this episode might start a little convoluted, and on paper seems a little far-fetched, it actually ends up being very plausible and entirely reasonable. The CIA did do pretty much all the things the episode accuses them of, but in this episode, those are just the delusional ramblings of a mob enforcer put in a mental home by his family. The truth is, he is a dangerous, violent man, and the feds have nothing to do with it. It's only because of their own government-sanctioned paranoia that they end up so deeply involved. Their guilty conscience means that even they think they might have something to do with this. I also think it works really well to bring them in this way, showing their infallibility, but also actually helping Jim out out of a tricky situation, far more satisfactorily than his deal with the mob, which might sound good at first, but really doesn't make him, Mary Jo or Angel that safe with the knowledge of Joey B's situation. The performances are all believable when they could have easily strayed into cartoonish, and the very sensitive way they deal with mental health is also incredibly refreshing, when so many shows from then until now get it so wrong. I love how it shows that the mob and the feds are basically different sides of the same coin, overly paranoid, secretive and reactionary, while Jim is the only one able to learn from his mistakes. For me, this is easily another 5 out of 5. Thank you. Goodbye.